Hello and welcome to WHU Radio with me, your host John Phillips, also known as JP. Today's podcast is the West Ham 1, Charlton Athletic 2 Full-time Thoughts discussion, where we go into the starting 11, the first and second half. To listen to the full unedited version of this podcast, then please do consider becoming a Patreon. Links in the description below. Otherwise, let's get to it. Okay, so let's talk about that starting 11. But before we do that, for anybody that has followed this platform, more specifically on YouTube, over the last 5-6 years, really, you guys will know that I always say, and I said it in the previous preview for the Burnley game, you guys will know that I say if a manager suits a 4-2-3-1, you go a 4-4-2. Okay? I'll come on to that more in a minute. So in relation to the starting 11 for both sides, as I say, 4-2-3-1s, stupid idea. Two substitutions, two changes, I should say, and technically 3 debuts, because obviously Solomon's making his debut at home. Other than that, exactly the same lineup as it was last week against Burnley. So Hermansen in goal with Skulls, Kilman, Mavropanos, and Walker-Peters making up the back four. Solomon, Kante, Engels coming in for Orford with Bowen up front, and it looked like very on that Pirro was sitting behind, making his debut in replacement of the injured Pablo, sitting behind Tati up front. So a 4-4-1-1, but it originally started out as both managers were going to a 4-2-3-1. So obviously the formation was a bad mistake, and as I say, I hate to say it because this is only his debut and this is being recorded at half-time to talk about the first half. I do feel that dropping Orford for Engels was the wrong thing. This is the reason why, if anybody listened to or watched the preview that I did, I had a 4-4-2 with Orford alongside Kante, because it just shows that Orford is the better option in the midfield over Engels. At least it was for this first half. At the end of the podcast, guys, you'll obviously hear me talk about the second half. But we were shocking in the majority of that game. It took us, in that first half, it took us close to 40 minutes to grow into this game. After all the hoo-ha that happened against Burnley, we were slow, we were pedestrian, we were third to everything, basically. Not even second, genuinely third to everything. As I say, let's talk about the actual goal itself from Jones. Cracking goal, but could have easily been avoided on the 6th, 7th minute, right? Throw in that West Ham do not deal with in any shape or form. Great ball up to Jones from Carey. He's a little bit of a ping pong footballer to a lesser extent, but it's just not good enough, and everybody just standing around watching it. Nobody moved. Genuinely, nobody moved. I've seen the replay millions of times. Nobody moves for the ball. I do feel, and I'm not taking anything away from Hermansen in any shape or form. I do feel Hermansen can do better for that goal. I really genuinely do. Because, yes, okay, it's, I say, from a Charlton Athletic point of view, it's a phenomenal goal, right? It's an over the head scissor kick, bicycle kick, whatever you want to call it, into the back of the net, and by their centre half. 2 goals in 2 games now he's got, by the way, and fair play to him from that point of view. But we have been absolutely pedestrian in this first half. We really, really have. The defending has been on point for most of it, bar Walker-Peters' decision. But as I say, the ball goes in between Mavropanos and Kilman once again. And nobody's basically making any effort to get to the ball, and it goes into the back of the net, and Hermansen's seconds late. Hermansen has to. He really, really does have to. I mean, you're literally just looking at the replay once again, and Kilman is watching the ball. He's not making a play to get in the way of it in any shape or form. He is literally just watching it roll into the back of the net. And watch the ball goes in the back of the net, I should say, right? Because it didn't roll; it was a bloody good strike. But you guys, you know what I'm saying. It's just honestly the decision making in there, and it's not like, I mean, okay, we came out the blocks a little bit thereafter, only a little bit. We could have gone 2-0. We could have gone 2 down. You know, Campbell had some decent chances. As did what's his name? Let's just double check there. As did Leeburn as well. I mean, Leeburn had a put on a plate to him by Walker Peters, made an absolute sloppy mistake. Granted, it perfectly well that Kilman actually made the defensive run to be able to stop him. You know, Bowen was hardly in terms of what we usually see him from Bowen. It was very, very weak, very put some balls in a couple of, trying to get Pirlo and Pirot, however you pronounce them, trying to put him into the play him into the game, but at the same point, Kante had, that's one of the worst games we've seen the first half that we've seen Kante have so far. I don't want to pick up Skulls in any shape or form, but he has to do better when he's putting his balls into the box. Really, really did. Every single one was either at the goalkeeper or at the Charlton player, right? So, as I say, overall, first half, not good enough from West Ham in any shape or form. Charlton were, to their credit, I said on the extended version that's up on Patreon for this game, I said that Charlton will come out with an aggressive play in a 4-2-3-1, and there's certain players that we need to keep an eye out for. My analysis was slightly wrong on that, because the ones that we needed to keep an eye out for were actually weren't the ones that my research suggested. So that's fine from that point of view. I'm not a professional in any shape or form. But what I will say to these guys is Charlton played phenomenally well. And as a result of it, we were too lackluster on the ball, just took our time too much, taking ages to make a decision. By the time the decision was made, Charlton were absolutely on the ball for us, and on the ball on anything that we were trying to do. And as a result of it, it ended up 1-0 at half time. And as I say, there was only really 3 attempts at goal. One was by Solomon, and the other was the header just before half time by Tati. And as I say, guys, we were poor, and I hate to say it. I really genuinely hate to say it, because I'm not an advocate of this in any shape or form, but the West Ham supporters were absolutely in their right to basically boo the players off the pitch at half time, because it's just not acceptable that we have that level of play. It's not acceptable in the Premier League, and it's even less acceptable in the Championship when we're trying to put a squad together. So, okay, so let's go and talk about the second half now. Rant over. So going into the second half, I know you guys have just heard me saying let's talk about the second half, because that was recorded at the halftime break. This is now being recorded at full time. It sounds like Nuno was reading the game the same way that I was just talking about, because he takes off Kante and brings on Orford before this as a halftime substitution. Perfect thing. We started playing better. We did. We weren't playing great in the first half. We weren't playing exactly brilliant in the second half. So much to dissect about that second half. But in general, we did play better. I still maintain, because the midfield looks stronger with Orford in there, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you're thinking on this. But also at the same point, guys, Charlton were just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Just exactly as I predicted when I did the Patreon's extended version of the preview. But guys, honestly, unacceptable play from a lot of players out there. Now, one of the players I mentioned in the first half of this, when we talked about the first half of this game in the early part of the podcast a few minutes ago, I said that Campbell was one of the players that we needed to keep an eye out for, and of course he scores, doesn't he? No problem on that one. From that point of view. Now, I get the reasons why Kilman is planted, okay? Because Mavropanos is brought down, allegedly, looking for a free kick. Doesn't really look for it in the way that everybody does. He's down for a little bit longer than he should have been, but gets up very, very quickly. And by the time he's up, there's just chaos in the defence, and Campbell scores a brilliant goal, and we are 2-0 down. Now, as I say, from a Charlton perspective, two cracking goals, worthwhile of all 3 points. From a West Ham perspective, absolutely unacceptable play. Tati gets booked for diving. Now, I don't want to dig out Tati, because I think he's got a lot of potential and will have a lot of potential in this league this coming season. I genuinely do. However, looking at this game today, his plays were crap. Since when has Tati been on penalty duty? Why the hell Is it not Bowen taking the penalties like it normally does? Now, I understand the reasons why some of you guys will be thinking that wasn't a penalty, and some of you guys will be thinking it is a penalty, because the rules are so fucked up, we don't know what the hell's going on. Now, the reason being is because it's like, to me personally, I would say that was ball to player, right? Because Orford is about a couple of meters away from Connor Coventry, at best. But the rules are, right? Because the rules are the rules. Unfortunately, Connor's got his arm up around his face to protect himself. That's not in the rules to say that that's not handball. Unfortunately, the rules state that your arm has to be in a quote unquote natural position and the problem, one of the problems why we're having this issue with the handball is because what you and I class as a natural position is not natural in terms of the rule book. Because yes, of course you're going to shield your face if something's coming at you relatively point blank. But you have to have your arms down by your sides. So that's the reason why the penalty was awarded. Why Tatty took it, I'll never bloody know. And we'll have to find out in relation, because as I say, this is being recorded straight after full time. And so we'll have to wait and hear what Nuno has to say as to the reasons why Tatty was on penalty duties instead of our stalwart penalty taker, Jared Bowen. Yes, okay, he may have been knackered, but he could have done a 4 or 5 yard run to do it. Do you know what I mean? That aside, excuse me, that aside, why the hell is Tatty doing that stuttering run and then pushing and then just not putting on target? I think he's gonna do relatively well for us this season. I think he's going to be very handy in what's coming up. And as I say, this is only the second game of the league so far. We've got 44 more, whatever it is, about 44 more more games to go. We cannot afford to play like this so early on, so arrogant, so just like too casual, too up themselves like we're the biggest one, we're going to win this when you're in a 2-1, 2-0 down. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Piro's goal, phenomenal, really beautiful, exactly what we want from a number 9 in every sense of the word. Right, the goalkeeper, the Charlton Athletic goalkeeper, who was phenomenal, by the way. And I'm using that a lot at the moment, but I was so impressed with how Charlton played. I've never said we're going to be one of these teams that are going to walk the league. I've never said that, but I was just really impressed. I knew how aggressive and how coordinated Charlton were, and I mentioned that in the Patreon extended preview. But very impressed with Charlton's goalkeeper. Makes a bit of a parry. Piro's 2 or 3 yards out in front of him, and it's 2-1. That's exactly what we've been dying out for ever since Andy Carroll's frequent injuries. We've not had a centre forward that does that for a long, long time. Tatty had chance after chance after chance today and did not score in any of them. He also got booked for simulation. It's unacceptable. I know a lot of people are questioning his mindset at the moment, and it's very clear that he's desperate for us to win. But to go to that extremes and not deliver at the same point, I do personally think changes need to be made. And what we will do now is we will talk over in Patreon about what those changes potentially could be and should be. So if you want to become a Patreon, guys, links in the description below. £2.50 plus VAT a month for an academy graduate level, which includes a 7-day free trial. You'll be able to see everything that's in there, the exclusive Patreon only content, talking about the transfer target players, basically player profiles. £3.50 plus VAT to become a squad. To become a squad member. There's extended previews in there, and there's also extended podcasts of this included as well, where I go into a bit more detail for the Patreons. You get exclusive discount codes for the club, the channel shop, the merchandise that I've been making up for you guys over the last couple of months. Honestly, for the £2.50 plus VAT or £3.50 plus VAT, I'm undercharging you, genuinely undercharging you. So if you want to have a listen to more, there's going to be another podcast and video to go up on YouTube on Monday to coincide with what I'll be talking about on Monday, because as we know, we've got 8 days left of the transfer window this coming Monday. So there's a few things I need to talk to you guys about, and I want to get your opinions on both. So guys, please do follow this podcast on the platform you're listening to. Like it if you can. It'd be nice to get some information here, or as to how many people are listening to this. So you can find it everywhere, and it's also going to be available for those on YouTube anyway. So guys, have a fantastic weekend. Try and enjoy it as best as you can, and I will speak to you very, very soon. All the best now.